The data says that a lifetime value of a client is roughly 18,000 to 40 grand. And it could be even higher. A 24-hour client could be in the six-figure range. So the missing phone calls, yeah, there might be, 10 or 20, that are garbage. But if you miss that one, that could be $100,000 client or a $40,000 client. It's huge.
Well, welcome everybody to the first episode of the Homecare Marketing Pros podcast. I'm Dylan, the client success specialist here at Homecare Marketing Pros. With me is our co-founder, Brady Quick. Brady's been in sales for about 40 plus years. He's sold to multi-billion-dollar clients for about basically 4 decades. So Brady, good to have you with us. How you doing?
Good, Dylan. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. So the topic discussion for today is kind of something that is in the minds of pretty much every agency owner, and that's speed to lead, right? How fast you're responding to those leads. Does that matter to winning more clients? So we have a few questions that came in that we want to ask you, and then we'll get your input and we'll get started, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, so what does speed to lead actually mean, and why does it matter more in home care than maybe any other industry?
Yeah, speed to lead. You hear that term thrown out there, and you have to consider the source of a home care agency's prospect, which we know is the oldest daughter of a senior, typically about 6% of the time. And she's looking for help because of a situation that's happened with her mom or her dad. And so there's probably an emotional situation typically. So speed to lead, she needs help right away. And so she's going to look for that help. And typically she's going to go online to do that. She's not going to go to social media. She's going to go to Google, and she's going to find whatever agencies show up in the search results, either on Google or through an AI search. And she's going to reach out. She's going to make a phone call. And so speed to lead means, are you going to pick up the phone? Is it going to go to voicemail? And if it does, she's going to go to the next one on the list. And so that's why it matters. And speed to lead is such an important thing to talk about.
Yeah. And it makes sense because, like you said, you have to kind of understand the emotional situation.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Because it's that, I guess, the first contact you would say that is either you lose the lead or you contact that person, they want to stick to you, they won't move on.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. So let's say, a team means well, then they understand the emotional situation, but, what are some of the most common reasons why an agency, maybe their response time slips a little bit?
Agencies are busy. They've got a lot going on. They've got existing clients. They're managing caregivers. There's schedules that fall apart on a day-to-day basis. So you can understand that they're managing their own business. If they don't have someone specifically assigned to handling calls, this could be a problem. And that's a big deal. Answering the phone, and this is all sales. So answering the phone, having a good sales process, having empathy on the phone, and then being able to handle that call and not miss any calls, that's a big deal. And that's a very important part of the business.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Does that apply for maybe lead gen services too? Like a place for mom, or does the same principle apply? Is it a little different for that, or what would you say?
Yeah, it's very similar. There's really no difference than handling a lead from a place for mom, except for that lead is going to get called by multiple people. So speed to lead for a lead gen service like a place for mom or caring.com is even more important because they're going to get called back from the other 5 agencies that lead was sent to.
Right.
So using technology is a thing that is very important nowadays, that lead gets a text message and an email from an agency owner within seconds, and then also calling them back or answering the phone. A place for mom is probably the largest agency marketer in the United States because they spend millions on paid leads and they spend millions on organic content to get those leads in every market in the United States, basically stealing the leads from local agencies and then selling them back to them. So they have some really good data. And one of the things they say is that a lead is 21 more times likely to convert if you respond within 5 minutes compared to versus 30 minutes. If you're responding to that lead within 1 minute, how much more likely you are to be
Yeah.
able to convert that lead.
Right.
So
Right.
using technology is a big part of being able to answer the phone. An agency might ask themselves, how many phone calls did I get in the last month? How many phone calls did I answer? How many went to voicemail?
Right.
Very important to
Right.
know, to understand.
So yeah, it's like it's just basically you're creating the efficiency in the front office
Yeah,
because you have to match the volume, I'm assuming, if you're having lead gen services because you're gonna get, a lot of leads that come in, but how you match the volume of first contacting them is pretty important.
huge,
So
huge. So you're spending
yeah,
money on,
yeah,
or you're spending money on digital marketing. If you're using a agency like us to spend money on marketing, but then you're missing phone calls or phone calls are going to voicemail. And why is that a big deal? Well, what's the value of a client? We can use between activated insights or home care pulse and a place from mom. The data says that a lifetime value of a client is roughly 18,000 to 40 grand. And it could be even higher. A 24-hour client could be in the six-figure range. So the missing phone calls, yeah, there might be, 10 or 20, that are garbage. But if you miss that one, that could be $100,000 client or a $40,000 client. It's huge, and that's why it's so
right.
important to pay attention to this detail.
I guess in terms of like a sales
Yeah,
process, right? Let's say you have that efficiency in the front office, you're contacting a client. Is that necessarily enough to win a client on its own, or does it kind of just get you a seat at the table, get your foot in the door? What needs to happen after that in terms of your sales experience to actually win over?
yeah. Having a sales process and using a CRM to not only capture every lead, but then also
Okay.
managing the sales pipelines. So you should have multiple sources for leads. So you should have a digital source. That's very important because for private duty, agencies are getting their private duty clients through that Google search or AI
Okay.
search. But then there's the referral source pipeline, or having a salesperson out meeting with referral sources, hospitals, discharge planners. Having these lead sources is super important, and then managing those lead sources. So how do you know how many leads you got last month? And looking at the data,
Right.
how many leads are in the, how many leads ended up in a in-home assessment? And then how many
Hmm.
agreements did I send out to those prospects that I went and did an in-home assessment? And then how many did I close? What's my ROI on my marketing dollars, or what's the ROI on my marketer or my salesperson that I've hired? And
Right.
holding them accountable. And that's why a good CRM is super important. And looking at all this data is a big part of it. And then looking at how many leads come in after hours.
Right.
One of the stats from a place from mom is that 40% of leads come in after hours or on the weekends. So
Okay.
any owner should ask themselves, do I have a system in place to handle those leads, especially if I'm going to spend money on marketing?
Yeah. And in terms of educating your team,
Yeah.
your sales
Yep.
team for that follow-up process, I would ask maybe what has Home Care Marketing Pros done? Like when you guys get a new lead,
Yeah.
what's the process? How do you follow up? What makes your process a success?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that we do is we have a massive content engine for home care marketing pros. So our content is how we've grown our revenue to be a multi seven figure agency just from organic content on our website. So what that means is that people or agency owners around the United States are looking for help to grow. So they might put in home care marketing or home care recruiting. Well, we show up in the search results organically, meaning we've never run ads. We don't have a sales process, an outgoing sales process. We haven't needed it. So they look for help to grow. They find us and they come to our website, and everything in our website pushes them to a strategy call. Now, the strategy call is
Okay.
just a 30-minute call that is all about an agency owner, meaning it's about you, it's about your company, it's about what you've done in the past, what you're doing now to get leads, what is your annual revenue right now, what's your goals, and then we kind of just see if there's a fit for
Okay.
our growth system, which is Carefunnels. Is there a fit? Is there a fit, and can we help you? If that is true, Then we will schedule another meeting where we dive into the details of our growth system, Carefunnels, and go through what we do, why we do it. And so it's really an educational meeting. And at the end of it, you will know for sure whether we're the right fit for you.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned the first thing is the organic content, right? Because you're putting in the time first, and then I mean, that's the free part, and then it comes back to you. So
Yeah.
for like a regular home care agency, what type of organic content should they focus on in their website, or how can they build that digital footprint in order to meet the competition?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, you have to have the right foundation. So the
Okay.
right foundation is, of course, is a website built the right way. There's, all websites are not created equal. You can get someone from overseas to build a website for you for real cheap. But the question is that really going to help you? Because,
Right. Yeah.
right? So if you think about it, the
Yeah.
only thing that matters is, does my website show up in search results in my local service area? So first of all, you got to have the right foundation. So a really good website that's optimized for SEO for an agency in their local service area, and then adding content. Okay, what is the content? Who's the content for? Well, it depends. What are you trying to do as an agency owner? Are you trying to grow? Do you need more clients? Or do you need caregivers? And so that's content for job seekers. Or do I need both? And so there's a strategy for content for both audiences. Or am I trying to also attract referral sources, people that are hospital discharge planners or anybody that's looking for someone that they can refer to? That's content as well. So understanding the keywords that people are searching for equals the content on a website, which is going to equal the search results of leads coming in. All of that is part of the growth system or part of the engine that an agency needs to consider.
You have the efficiency in the front office,
Yep.
you have the content engine, and then you have your sales
Yep.
process. They all work
Yeah.
together. Okay.
Yeah. You have to have everything.
So you have to have everything. If you just do one or the other, it's not
Yep.
just burning money at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, in the past, in our early years, we tried to help agencies with what they were asking for. And what we learned is that a home care agency owner is not a digital marketing expert. So, in the early
Okay.
days, we were like, let's give them what they want. I want a website. Great, here you go. I want blogs. Here you go. I'm calling, I'm really looking for some social media. Here you go. Okay, so we were doing that, kind of like a la carte
Right.
offerings. What we learned over time is that isn't really what was going to help them grow. And so that's why we created this growth system. It's not what someone's necessarily looking for. And the reason is because they don't understand what they need. And we do.
Right.
And so if you don't have all of the pieces of the puzzle, you're going to fail, because that's
Right.
what the agencies that are growing and the ones that are really, really winning. And we've got some clients that are in the 50, $60 million range of annual revenue. They're just crushing it. So they're a good example of what it takes to really stand out in the marketplace and grow. And so we have lots of examples of agencies that are winning as proof of concept, which we have case studies and testimonials on our website.
So the most successful agencies that they do everything.
We do it
They
all.
have the
Yep.
most amount. They do
They're
it all.
looking at it.
Okay, so from your experience then, I mean, your 4 decades of
Yeah.
sales, your experience with home care agencies, if you could take one thing and point an agency in the right direction to test and improve their speed to lead process, what would it be?
Yeah. I mean, in my old, before I was with, Jason and partnering with him with his company, one of the things that I learned in my sales career is that the CRM mattered. So I was a Salesforce user for years and I was the best at
Okay.
it. And my only motivation was because it helped me to win. So the organizational part of a CRM, and that was before technology. I mean, you could just say that a Salesforce CRM had technology back then, but it was before AI. Now
Right.
it's even way better. So using technology, using a CRM, looking at the data on a monthly basis is a huge part of measuring your ROI on your marketing dollars. And looking at the details helps you look into your business, into the sales process to see if there's any gaps and where you need to address things. So for instance,
Right.
if I've got lots of leads, but I didn't schedule that many in-home assessments, then we've got a sales phone answering problem. But if I have a lot of leads, I schedule a lot of in-home assessments, but I'm not getting a lot of clients, well, now I know that I've got a problem with my in-home assessment closing a prospect problem.
Yeah.
Without data, you're really just throwing darts and you're guessing. So
Right.
so looking at the data and the KPIs, if you will, of what's going on in your sales part of your business is huge.
And we know because Google has different updates, especially in the digital space. Would you say having that data available to you will allow you and your agency to make adjustments when need be, especially with AI and different things like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's agencies are using they're using organic, which brings down your cost per acquisition over time, but they're also doing
Okay.
paid. So we run, we're probably managing 750,000 a year in ad spend with our clients. And we've got one guy that's the pay-per-click Google expert, that he's just doing that. So there's paid leads. Then there's a place,
Right.
longandcaring.com, that is another thing. But using technology for those lead gens is very important, because you want to beat your other 5 agencies that are getting that lead. Obviously, these things are all part of the Carefunnels CRM, which is part of our growth system.
Right.
You got to have it.
Right.
You're going to be left behind, and the competition is going to continue because there's thousands of agencies that are joining, that are startups,
Okay.
and there's very competitive markets, and so it's just going to continue to get more competitive. And so the agencies that are using technology, they're paying attention to the metrics, they're the ones that are going to continue to grow, and the ones that are not will probably fall by the wayside.
Yeah. Well, it shows that, it's a mentality as a whole that the agency has to have, and that goes hand in hand with your data.
Yeah.
So you have to have data to have efficient, I guess, front office, to have that content engine,
Yep.
to train your team,
Yep.
right? To be on the same page for that, so that you can grow, and it's a whole strategy.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Well, thank you, Brady, for joining us today. If you want to take a look at how fast your agency is doing or how fast you're responding to a new inquiry, you can use the Home Care Marketing Pros website. We have a free growth diagnostic. It can help you to do that. So if you found this episode especially helpful, be sure to subscribe, follow us on Spotify, and be sure to mention any other topics that you want us to discuss in the future. So thanks for tuning in, and thank you, Brady, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Dylan.